The Commanders playing their home games at RFK 2.0. The only thing standing between Josh Harris's ownership group, a lot of Commanders fans getting a dream to come true, is the D.C. City Council now having to vote and approve this. The chairman of the D.C. City Council, Phil Mendelson, scheduled to join us in just a moment. He's calling in now, so we'll get him on the line. But there is still a lot of work to do.
Absolutely. And excuse me, it's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination because the council needs convincing, or I don't know how many votes. I haven't done a polling or haven't seen any kind of data like that done, but there is a legislative process that happens here, but there is a lot of momentum for it.
What is the process ahead and how will it play out? Let's get some answers right now from the chairman of the D.C. City Council, Phil Mendelson, on Grant and Danny. Council member, thank you for the time. We appreciate you. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you today?
Great,
Doing very well. So, as you know, here, a lot of us very excited on the sports side of the possibility of the Commanders coming back to the nation's capital. But you guys still have plenty to say about that. So let's just get your reaction to the news of the day and the possibility of this brand new stadium at the RFK site.
I would say I'm excited as well with regard to the possibility of getting the Commanders back and getting a new stadium. Do have some reservation about the cost and how much taxpayers are going to be asked to spend.
Mr. Chairman, what needs to happen for you to not be concerned? Like, where's the threshold?
We have yet to see the mayor's budget, so we have yet to see what the impact is on spending. It's really kind of hard to know the situation. My sense is that the mayor's deal with the Commanders is going to cost over $1 billion. But we're just now starting to get some information on that. This may be shocking to your listeners, but the mayor has not chosen to share anything until now with the council, even though the council has to approve. And I certainly hope we don't see the same kind of situation that we saw last year in Virginia. So I estimate that it's at least, close to $1 billion. That's $500 million for horizontal construction, plus another $181 million that's going through a affiliate of the government for parking, plus another $175 million, which is pledged from future taxes to be reinvested in something like the year 2032. That's $856 million right there. Plus the cost of borrowing, plus there are going to be improvements that are necessary for the metro station, plus there are improvements to federal parkland per deal the mayor made with the Senate last year. So it's going to be at least $1 billion, and we have not seen all the details.
Council member, is your position that like 1 cent is too much? And I ask this because if you compare this deal in terms of private versus public money to the other stadiums that have been built in the league recently, or to what's even been done in the city, by all accounts, this is a pretty good deal.
Well, that's the mayor's spin because she does it in terms of percentage of cost. But if you look at the actual dollars, this is one of the more expensive public subsidies. At $1 billion, it's one of the more expensive public subsidies.
But wouldn't you also generate more revenue based on this venue than some? If you had a Super Bowl, and if you had the NFL draft, let's say, in the city, the commissioner today said that both are possibilities. This could have been a missing ingredient, so to speak. The estimates are that could generate over $1 billion just with those two events.
Well, let's be clear. The Super Bowl, we will get the Super Bowl with the Commanders next year, and there won't even be a new stadium at that point.
That would be nice.
But seriously, Super Bowl is, once in a generation, if that frequently for a city? The number of events is 10 football games plus, if there is something in the playoffs and, maybe I think the mayor's estimate was something like 10 other events. I don't know how many of those events
they said
are actually
40 major events and 200 dates.
Aspirational was 200 dates. I did see that. It said aspirational at 200 dates. I think those might be weddings and bar mitzvahs. I thought it was more like 10 other events like concerts. Just as a comparison, the Nationals is 80 games plus other events. The arena downtown is something like 225 events a year. Very, very different. And of the of the money that I just itemized, close to $200 million is going to come from future taxes. So we're, in a sense, cannibalizing some of the revenue from the site to pay for the site. I don't know that that's horrible, but just don't make the argument that it's going to bring in all this tax revenue when actually it's just going to, that money's just going to get reinvested in building the stadium.
DC Council Chair Phil Mendelson, kind enough to join us here on Grant and Danny. So, Mr. Chairman, let's say there is no stadium, and you were going to build over there, as has happened at the Wharf, around Nationals Park, although obviously that's around a stadium, so it may not be apples to apples. But I've been in and around the city long enough. When new development happens, money gets spent. What would it cost you if there's no stadium there at all? And how dissimilar is that to the figures that you're quoting now?
Well, I don't know that is not where I want to go. But if we were to go there, I think that there still would be an upside to the city because there would be all this new development, housing, commercial, retail. I mean, it's acres and acres of land that can be developed in a way like the Wharf. So there would be economic potential. But, you know, everybody's interest here is in getting a stadium. And that's where all the excitement is. I completely get it and I share it. It's just a question of how much does the public sector put in to subsidize this? And $1 billion is a stiff amount. I don't think there's support in the council for that. And as I've sort of said here, you know, the mayor is definitely downplaying it because I think she realizes that $1 billion is an awful lot to ask, especially when she's proposing a lot of budget cuts.
DC City Council Chairman Phil Mendelson is with us here on Grant and Danny. So you said that that's not where you want to go. I take that as you saying that's not your plan for that area. What does that look like for you in your perfect world? What are better alternatives to generate growth, jobs, and tax revenues in that location?
Well, I think what I would like to see is that to the extent that there's money that's coming not from the developer, that it is being generated by the site itself. And that's not exactly what this proposal is. In fact, it's not this proposal at all. This proposal is, as I said, $500 million for horizontal construction plus $181 million from Events DC, which is our convention center authority, which gets hotel tax revenue for parking, and then another $175 million in a few years for additional parking. Plus the cost of borrowing. All of that is taxpayer dollars, and all of that is outside of the site itself.
Understood, but I guess my question is, and forgive me, I'm probably just not smart enough.
Right in my element here, sir. We're good at talking linebackers and running backs.
I'm a football guy, right? I'm a sports guy. What would your vision be then there that is better than this stadium for DC?
You mean as an alternative for land use?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you don't want to spend the $1 billion on a stadium, Danny and I's point is you're going to spend $1 billion to do something else there anyway. Does it generate the same growth, jobs, and tax revenues? I'm from Virginia, but I work in DC. I go to Nats games every night. I'm at every Caps game. I go to Wizards games. I'm not coming there for a lot of the things you're going to be building. There's a benefit to a stadium, obviously.
Yes. I don't think it's an all or nothing. The mayor negotiated this deal without collaborating with the council, without sharing any information whatsoever. I don't think it's an all or nothing. I don't think it's, we accept this deal that the mayor put forward, or there's no stadium at all. I don't think that's even close to the possibility. And, you know, I mean, I've seen these projects over the years. Do you remember the Capital One Arena back in the 90s that the city was going to put in, I think it was over $100 million. And then Robert Johnson came in and said he would pay for the whole thing. And suddenly Abe Poland said he would pay for it. And then the city subsidy went down maybe to zero. And that was after, oh my God, we have to accept what the initial offer was, which was going to cost, I'm going to say hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars. I don't remember the exact number. So this is not a take it or leave it. This is not an all or nothing. I met with the commanders for the first time last week. It was not to negotiate. It was like an introductory meeting. They were actually shocked when I said to them that the mayor had not shared anything with the council. And
why do you think that is, by the way?
I can't speak for the mayor.
Okay.
And I'm meeting with them again, and I made it clear to them that I want to be accessible and that I expect that we'll have lots of discussion about this.
DC City Council Chair Phil Mendelson, kind enough to join us here on Grant and Danny. So I guess what would you need then, sir, to be satisfied? In other words, like what tweaks, what changes, what figures would need where you go, okay, now this makes more sense. I understand you've got that $1 billion number, and that's a lot of money. What needs to change for you to say, you know what, that's a deal I can sign on to?
It's hard for me to give you. You're looking for a specific answer, and it's hard for me to give that to you when I know so little about this project. I only know pretty much the PowerPoint that was circulated this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not enough to be able to give you a better answer. Plus, I've not sat down and talked face-to-face with the commanders about what they need and why they can't put up more.
Phil Mendelson on Grant and Danny. So to get an idea of where we go from here then, obviously it goes without saying you guys would ultimately need to vote and approve this. I believe there are only 4 council members on site today. You need 7 to pass it. Is that the number I heard?
Correct.
Okay. I'm assuming the 4 that are there are for it, but I guess I shouldn't assume that. So you said you don't think there are the votes. Can you expound upon that? Are you pretty confident right now that they don't have 7 people that would support this?
Well, you know, the problem with my answering a yes is that sounds a bit confrontative, and I don't wish to be confrontative at this point. But I think that if this was before the council today, they would not vote for it, in part because we don't know enough, but in part because they would see the price tag too high, and in part because we have not seen what the mayor's proposing with the budget and the cuts that we know they're going to be in the budget. You know, let me just say on that, the mayor's budget was due on April 2nd. We will, if we're lucky, get it the middle of May. That's 7 weeks late. And we expect that there's going to be close to $1 billion in program cuts in what she sends to us. What is she cutting, and where is she getting the money for the stadium? And I think with those unknowns, it's hard to say that she would have support right now.
One thing I'm curious.
These
go
things
ahead,
get worked out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I don't want the headline from you sports guys that, oh my God, the council's about to stop to kibosh the stadium, because I think that's premature.
Sure. It sounds like you're willing to negotiate. This deal as it's constructed, you don't think works, but you're willing to talk about it. Help me with an area where I'm a little ignorant of the research you guys have done. So I remember reading somewhere that 71% of DC residents in a poll wanted the stadium back in DC. How much work have you done to find out what that number is? How many polls have been done? And if it's a vast majority like that, is it as simple as saying, well, that's what the constituents want? And how do you make the decision just as a lawmaker in terms of going with or against your constituents?
I certainly think that as an elected body, that the council has to be mindful of where residents are. And I don't question what you said, 70% of residents would like to see a stadium, would like to see the Commanders back in DC. I would too. I think if the question was different, do you support public financing? It might even be a majority that would say no. I know there's an initiative underway, but I think what's most important for the council is to look at the return on investment. If we put in $1 billion, what do we get back? If we get back $1 billion over 30 years, that's over 30 years. That's not a positive return on investment. You know, the National Stadium, which we paid for and we own entirely, Cost $700 million 20 years ago. So now in today's dollars, over $1 billion. And it's 20 years old, and they are already looking at a need for another roughly $600 million to be put into the stadium to keep it fresh, new, state-of-the-art, competitive. So these stadiums do not have a 30-year lifetime, in the sense that there needs to be significant investment probably after 15 years. So what's the rate of return over 15 years? And if the tax revenue that's coming in is instead going to get redirected to just pay the interest cost and buy some of the garages, basically refinance the Commander's investment, suddenly the rate of return on investment is much lower. You know, the research generally says that sports stadiums do not have a positive return on investment. I think that a baseball stadium with 80 games probably has a more positive return than a football stadium with 10 games. I think there's much more involved with the stadium, as in the excitement of having your home team. But I think it's important that we look at the return on investment, or ROI, and look at it with a critical eye, not a glossful eye. And that's one of the things the council is going to have to do.
That's a great point. And you're right about that research, but I wonder how much it's shifting now with roofs, right? I mean, the Cowboys, you had me cracking up when you talked about bar mitzvahs. That was a good line. But believe Jerry's World has had 250 events in a year. So if you were to, I don't know how they would do it, but if they laid out the schedule for you and you saw that they actually could have, 200 plus events in that stadium, I would think that would make you feel a lot better then, because you've come back to the number of games and the number of events a lot. It's something that comes up on the show a bunch, but it is not now there's a roof on this thing. It's not as big as 90,000 plus, right? You can have concerts, you can have soccer games, and then the major events I go back to, right? The Super Bowl, you mentioned you might only get one. Well, one of those and one of a draft, the billion's still a billion. I don't know. I'd love to go see a WrestleMania or a World Cup game, which we got left out of because we don't have a place to hold it. Those things, you only need to have one or two of those, and years and years worth of revenues generated, no?
Well, I think you have to have a little more than 1 or 2 years, but I don't know if you're Grant or Danny, but I want to go to your bar mitzvah with 66,000 guests.
I'm not that popular, sir.
I'm Grant. My wedding, I think we had 175. It wouldn't have filled the joint.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 175,000. Oh,
no,
okay.
that would be nice.
Yeah, well, no, we have to look at the numbers.
Yeah.
My last question for you is what does the mayor need to do for you kind of going forward to help kind of shed some light on her plans? And like it sounds, I don't want to put words in your mouth, as you haven't been thrilled to this point about maybe being kind of left out of the process. What does she need to do in your eyes?
I think she needs to be, I don't think she needs to be more collaborative, and she needs to avoid what we saw happen in Virginia. I mean, I'm happy that the Capitol's decided to stay in D.C. But not to dwell on this, the governor didn't work well with the legislature, and the mayor would do well to work with the council, which she has not done.
It's awesome that you gave us so much time, and it's helpful, because we talk about this all day long, and to get someone on who's in the know to answer some of the questions that we have. Like I wasn't trying to be combative, and even when I say now, I just don't see what you guys could build there on that site that would bring back a projected $4 billion in tax revenue over 30 years. So if that number's not inflated to you, I don't really see another way forward that would be better for the city. But it's nice to be able to say that to you and to hear what you thought. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I don't. This, in my view, we're not at. Well, we have to take this deal or there's no deal. That is, we have to take this deal or there's no stadium. There are alternatives. I mean, we've seen huge redevelopment in the Noma area of city with no stadium. We've seen huge redevelopment with the wharf. I was there last night. Hugely popular, very, very profitable to the city in terms of tax revenues. No stadium there. I'm not making the argument that that's what we want to see at the RFK site. I think that getting the Commanders there would be great. Let's just look at these numbers more carefully. And I think the city expense can be much, much, much less.
Mr. Chairman, very gracious with your time, sir. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Do you guys only talk football? Because, the Nats did really well yesterday. I was at the game. It was like one of the best games I have ever been to.
Today's a pretty big day for the football team.
Yeah, you got a baseball show here, sir. We do caps and everything else. Yeah.
Right now, they're third. I mean, we love baseball. We're big James Wood guys. But right now, the pecking order today, stadium at the RFK site, which hopefully you're going to help us with as soon as you get off the phone here. Then we're going to have the Caps in Game 5, Wednesday night, Cap One Arena. I'll be there. You want to hang out? Let me know. And then we got the
Nats. First period instead of making us all have heart attacks until the third period.
They don't do that, sir. That's not their forte.
This is not what they made. They like to finish the game after you've already keeled over with a win. That's kind of what they want to do.
Okay.
Thank you for the time, and hopefully we'll see you out at Capital One Arena, or maybe even RFK 2.0 in the future.
Okay.
See you.
Thank you, sir.
There is the chairman of the D.C. City Council. So I think a couple of things are important, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
He made it very clear several times over. While this is not a deal he plans on going for, he's ready to negotiate, it sounds like. That's number one. Number two, he doesn't want it to be combative. He even joked about the headline saying he's not shutting this down. But it does not sound like this deal works for him. And he did say, again, not in a way where he was going Dan Snyder all cap style, there's not enough votes right now. That's telling.
Yeah, he referenced several times the process here didn't include the council. The mayor is the representative of the city talking to the team, et cetera. Only, as he claimed, only one conversation between him and the team to this point. It was introductory, not to the nitty gritty.